Egypt, a land of majestic pyramids, cryptic hieroglyphs, and mesmerizing mythology. But beneath the shimmering surface lies a world of peculiar customs and rituals that may send shivers down your spine in today's context. From scarification to mummification, the ancient Egyptians lived a life that simultaneously fascinates and terrifies. Join us in this video as we unearth the 15 most spine-chilling practices that were once everyday life in ancient Egypt, unraveling their deep cultural significance. Sacred animals. Ancient Egyptian society possessed a deep reverence for animals, a profound veneration that wove its way into the fabric of their religious and cultural traditions. Across Egypt, various cults emerged, each dedicated to specific animals believed to embody the qualities of particular gods or goddesses. These cults celebrated animals of all sizes and temperaments, from the fierce and imposing, such as crocodiles and lions, to the more familiar and domesticated, like cats and birds. Though these practices might appear unsettling to modern sensibilities, understanding their cultural and religious significance provides valuable insights into the beliefs and rituals of ancient Egyptians. Many of these cults were closely tied to temples dedicated to specific deities. Devotees would bring offerings and perform rituals in honor of these animals, seen as either manifestations or symbols of the gods themselves. For example, the Apis bull was linked to the god Ptah, venerated in Memphis, while the crocodile god Sobek held a special place in the city of Crocodilopolis. Ritual sacrifices formed a crucial component of these sacred animal cults. Animals chosen for sacrifice were carefully selected and raised, with the belief that this practice would appease the gods, provide protection, and bring prosperity to the people. These animals were adorned with valuable jewelry and decorations, treated with utmost respect, and ritually purified before their sacrifice. After the ceremonies, the bodies of these animals were usually mummified and laid to rest in a sacred necropolis. Archaeological finds have uncovered large numbers of mummified animals in burial sites, attesting to the scale and significance of these practices in ancient Egyptian society. The profound connection between the Egyptians and their sacred animals sheds light on the complexities of their culture and spirituality. Cannibalism. The topic of cannibalism in ancient Egyptian society has long been a subject of debate and speculation among historians and archaeologists. While some evidence does suggest the presence of such practices, it remains unclear whether these instances were isolated occurrences or part of a broader cultural tradition. Certain texts from that era, including the pyramid texts, contain passages that seem to hint at cannibalism. For instance, the cannibal hymn found in Pharaoh Unis's tomb describes the king consuming parts of the gods' bodies to acquire their divine power. However, the prevailing consensus among scholars is that these texts should be interpreted metaphorically, rather than as literal descriptions of cannibalism. They are seen as expressions of the desire to attain divine power and eternal life, rather than records of actual human flesh consumption. Nonetheless, there is also limited archaeological evidence that suggests instances of cannibalism in ancient Egypt. Human remains have been discovered in various locations, displaying signs of dismemberment and decapitation, which could potentially indicate such practices. Nevertheless, this evidence is not conclusive, making it challenging to ascertain whether these findings represent isolated cases, ritualistic practices, or were driven by extreme conditions such as famine. The debate over cannibalism in ancient Egypt continues to intrigue and mystify historians and researchers alike, with no definitive resolution to the question. Ritual practices. Ritual practices held a profound significance in the culture and religion of ancient Egypt, with funerary texts playing a central role in the preparation for the journey into the afterlife. These texts, inscribed on tomb walls, papyrus scrolls, or other burial items, served as vital guides, providing the deceased with instructions and protection as they embarked on the intricate and potentially perilous journey through the realm of the afterlife. Various types of funerary texts were utilized throughout ancient Egyptian history, including the pyramid texts, coffin texts, and the Book of the Dead. These texts comprised a compilation of spells, prayers, and rituals meticulously crafted to aid the departed in overcoming the myriad challenges they might confront in the afterlife. These texts addressed critical aspects such as the judgment before the god Osiris, where the heart of the deceased was weighed on the scales of truth, and the treacherous journey through the underworld. Many of the spells within the funerary texts were highly specific, tailored to address personal issues or potential dangers. For example, these spells could ensure the departed had access to sustenance and hydration, shielded them from malevolent spirits, or bestowed the ability to transform into various creatures to ease their journey. Furthermore, these texts contained guidance on the proper conduct and actions the deceased should undertake to earn the favor of the gods and secure a place in the eternal paradise of the afterlife. Sibling marriages. In ancient Egyptian society, incestuous marriages, particularly between pharaohs and their siblings, were indeed a notable and intriguing aspect. While this practice may appear highly questionable to modern sensibilities, it held a crucial role in the social, political, and religious life of that era. To understand why such relationships were considered acceptable and even necessary, it's essential to delve into the cultural and ideological underpinnings of this practice. Pharaohs in ancient Egypt were regarded as divine beings, believed to be descended from the gods themselves. They were considered earthly incarnations of divine power, tasked with upholding the principle of world order known as ma'at, marriage to siblings, who were also considered of divine origin, served the purpose of preserving the purity of royal bloodlines and ensuring that their offspring inherited this divine status. In essence, it was a means of maintaining the divine legitimacy of the ruling family. Additionally, sibling marriages among pharaohs had political advantages. They helped solidify alliances, prevent power struggles within the royal family, and ensure the continuity of the dynastic line. As members of one family, siblings were expected to remain loyal to the crown, minimizing the risk of treachery or rebellion. This practice contributed to maintaining a stable and centralized power structure. The cultural norms and beliefs of ancient Egypt played a significant role in justifying these incestuous marriages. Many Egyptian myths and religious texts featured divine sibling couples, such as Isis and Osiris, who were central figures in the Egyptian pantheon. By emulating these divine relationships, pharaohs aimed to reinforce their godlike status and strengthen their political power. Mummification. In ancient Egypt, mummification stood as an indispensable component of preparing the deceased for their journey into the afterlife. Although today it may be perceived as a gruesome and labor-intensive process, mummification was deeply intertwined with the religious beliefs and cultural traditions of the ancient Egyptians. The mummification process consisted of several intricate stages, often taking up to 70 days. Initially, the body of the deceased underwent washing and cleansing. Subsequently, the brain was carefully extracted through the nose using specialized hooks, and the internal organs, including the liver, lungs, stomach, and intestines, were removed through an incision on the left side of the abdomen. These organs were preserved separately, either in canopic jars, ritual vessels, or wrapped in linen cloth, and then placed back into the body cavity. Following this, the body was subjected to dehydration through the application of natron, a naturally occurring salt, for approximately 40 days to eliminate moisture and avert decay. After dehydration, the corpse was meticulously cleansed and coated with oils to protect the skin. The final step entailed wrapping the body in numerous layers of linen bandages, with protective amulets and talismans often inserted between these layers. The bandages were sealed with resin or gum to ensure the preservation of the body during its journey to the afterlife. Conversely, the practice of human sacrifice in ancient Egypt remains a contentious and debated topic among historians and archaeologists. While there is some evidence suggesting that human sacrifices may have taken place in some form, the scale and prevalence of such practices remain uncertain. To grasp the complexity of this matter, it is imperative to scrutinize the available evidence, historical context, and the broader cultural perceptions of ancient Egyptian society. Archaeological findings linked to the early dynastic period imply the possibility of human sacrifices, particularly in burial complexes of early pharaohs. Servant tombs discovered within these complexes have fueled speculation about human sacrifices. These tombs contain the remains of individuals seemingly buried simultaneously with the pharaoh, leading some scholars to propose that they were ritually sacrificed to accompany and serve the ruler in the afterlife. However, alternative explanations have been posited, including the notion that these individuals willingly chose to accompany the pharaoh in death, or that they succumbed to natural causes. In contrast, textual evidence from later periods of ancient Egyptian history, such as the Middle and New Kingdoms, does not support the idea of widespread human sacrifices. Although certain religious texts and myths describe sacrificial rituals or actions, most scholars interpret these references as symbolic or metaphorical, rather than literal descriptions of actual events. Ancient Egyptian medicine. Ancient Egyptian medicine represents a fascinating fusion of science, magic, and religious beliefs, where healers and doctors were believed to possess extensive knowledge and skills. Their treatment methods often incorporated intricate rituals and diverse medicinal ingredients, including a practice that might appear eerie and unsettling to modern sensibilities: the use of human body parts. However, to grasp the cultural context of this practice and ancient Egyptian medicine as a whole, it is essential to delve into the rationale behind it. Ancient Egyptian healers adhered to the belief that the human body held potent healing properties, and its use in medicine was entwined with the concept of sympathetic magic, a prevailing idea in many ancient cultures. They believed that fragments of the bodies of deceased individuals, especially those with unique qualities or abilities during their lifetime, could transmit these properties to the living. Consequently, various human tissues, bones, and fluids were widely employed for treatment. For instance, skull fragments or bone powder were deemed effective remedies for treating headaches, while human fat was utilized in the preparation of balms and ointments for wound healing and skin conditions. Mummies, considered powerful sources of healing energy, were ground into powder and incorporated into medicines for various ailments. Although the use of human body parts in medicine may evoke horror today, it's crucial to acknowledge that ancient Egyptians genuinely believed in its efficacy. During that era, people possessed a limited understanding of human anatomy and diseases, and they sought to cure illnesses using the means and knowledge available to them. Thus, ancient Egyptian medicine, rooted in its unique blend of science, magic, and religious beliefs, reflects a profound aspect of their culture and worldview. The Nile River. The Nile River stood as the unequivocal life force behind ancient Egyptian civilization, exerting an instrumental influence in shaping its culture, economy, and daily existence. Its profound significance cannot be overstated, as it not only provided essential resources, but also orchestrated the very rhythm of life in Egypt. The annual floods of the Nile held paramount importance, serving as the primary source of fertility for Egyptian agriculture. These floods deposited nutrient-rich silt in the river floodplains, creating the optimal conditions for cultivating a variety of crops, including wheat, barley, and flax. Agriculture, as the backbone of the Egyptian economy, flourished thanks to the predictable cycle of floods, enabling farmers to develop advanced agricultural techniques that underpinned a thriving and stable civilization. Moreover, the Nile served as the principal transportation route throughout ancient Egypt, facilitating the efficient movement of goods and people along its length. This river acted as the connective thread binding various settlements and cities, promoting trade, communication, and cultural exchange. Boats crafted from wooden planks or papyrus were instrumental in transporting a wide range of items, from raw materials like stone and wood to finished products such as food, textiles, and pottery. In spiritual terms, the Nile held immense significance for the ancient Egyptians. It was viewed as a divine gift, especially associated with the god Hapi, who represented the annual floods. The river was considered a manifestation of the divine, which led to the incorporation of numerous rituals, festivals, and ceremonies centered around the Nile and its annual inundation. This rich tapestry of cultural, economic, and spiritual significance underscores the Nile's pivotal role in the development and sustenance of ancient Egyptian civilization. Retainer sacrifice. One of the most unsettling customs of ancient Egypt was the practice of burying servants alive with their masters, a brutal ritual known as retainer sacrifice. This grim tradition aimed to secure a prosperous afterlife for the deceased. While the notion of bringing servants into the afterlife may appear monstrous to modern sensibilities, understanding the context and beliefs associated with this practice is crucial. Retainer sacrifices were most prevalent during Egypt's early dynastic period, approximately from 3100 to 2686 BCE. Over time, as society evolved, the practice gradually declined. It was primarily conducted in the burials of high-ranking individuals, including pharaohs and dignitaries. The underlying belief was that an individual's afterlife mirrored their earthly life, so to ensure a comfortable afterlife, loyal servants and at times beloved pets were sacrificed to accompany them on their journey. Evidence of this practice is found in many human skeletons discovered in burials from this era, indicating its widespread nature. Initially, sacrifice servants were often killed using methods that minimized visible damage to their bodies, as preserving their physical appearances was deemed important for the afterlife. As ancient Egyptian beliefs evolved, so did their approach to this ritual. Instead of sacrificing servants, small figurines known as ushapti began to be placed in tombs. These figures, crafted from stone, wood, or faience, served as magical substitutes for the deceased servants. Inscribed with spells, these ushapti were believed to come to life in the afterlife, performing tasks and work on behalf of the deceased. This transition marked a shift away from the gruesome practice of retainer sacrifice towards a more symbolic representation of service in the afterlife. Curses. In ancient Egypt, curses and their role in daily life held significant importance. Rituals involving curses and the symbolic destruction of enemies were commonplace practices aimed at warding off evil and safeguarding the living from harm. These rituals were an integral part of ancient Egyptian magic and served various purposes, including protecting individuals or communities from malevolent forces, weakening or defeating enemies in times of warfare, and upholding social order by punishing wrongdoers. What is striking is that these rituals were performed not only by priests and magicians, but also by ordinary people, illustrating the widespread belief in the potency of curses. The cursing process entailed the creation of material representations of the supposed targets, often in the form of clay or wax figurines, pottery shards, or papyrus scrolls with inscriptions. These objects bore the names or likenesses of enemies and malevolent forces, accompanied by magical spells and incantations. Subsequently, these items were ritually destroyed, whether through breaking, stabbing, burning, or burying. Such actions symbolize the annihilation of adversaries and the elimination of their harmful intentions. The inscriptions found in execution texts, which contained the names of intended targets, offer valuable insights into the political, social, and religious landscape of ancient Egypt. They reveal the concerns and fears of the people, shedding light on alliances and conflicts that shaped the region during that time. Curses and their associated rituals played a significant role in the complex tapestry of ancient Egyptian beliefs and practices. Ancestor veneration and honoring. The dead ancestor veneration and the practice of honoring the deceased held central positions within ancient Egyptian society, highlighting the profound connection between the living and the departed. Referred to as the cult of the dead, this practice was based on the belief that the spirits of deceased family members required sustenance, care, and recognition to ensure their well-being in the afterlife. This belief found expression in meticulously designed rituals, offerings, and memorial ceremonies, all of which played a pivotal role in maintaining harmonious relations between the realms of the living and the dead. According to ancient Egyptian belief, the departed continued to exist in a parallel world known as the Beautiful West, or the Fields of Iyalu, which mirrored the world of the living. To secure a comfortable afterlife for their loved ones, the living conducted a range of rituals, including offering food, drink, and material gifts at the tomb, reciting prayers and spells, and participating in annual festivals dedicated to honoring the deceased. Tombs and temples assumed vital roles in the cult of the dead, serving as tangible connections between the realm of the living and that of the departed. These structures not only served as the final resting place for the physical body, but also as spaces where the living could communicate with their ancestors and pay them homage. Adorned with intricate scenes from daily life, religious motifs, and depictions of the afterlife, these tombs provided the deceased with a link to the world they had left behind, reinforcing the enduring bond between the living and their departed loved ones. Dwarfs occupied a distinctive and esteemed position within ancient Egyptian society, shedding light on the intricate social and cultural dynamics of this ancient civilization. Unlike in many contemporary societies where dwarfism is often perceived as a disability or unfavorable condition, in ancient Egypt, dwarfs were accorded great respect and enjoyed special privileges. By examining the roles and representations of dwarfs in ancient Egyptian art, texts, and daily life, we gain valuable insights into the values and beliefs that shaped this intriguing culture. Dwarfs frequently held significant positions in royal courts and within the families of pharaohs. They served as craftsmen, jewelers, dancers, performers, and were highly prized for their skills and talents. For example, the renowned dwarf who served under Pharaoh Khufu held the prestigious title of Chief of Dwarfs and was immortalized in a beautifully executed statue alongside his wife and children. Artistic depictions of dwarfs in tomb paintings, statues, and other ancient Egyptian artworks often showcased them engaged in various activities, including participation in religious rituals, crafts, or entertainments. These representations underscore that dwarfs were regarded as integral members of society, deserving of respect and admiration. The elevated status of dwarves in ancient Egyptian society can also be attributed to their symbolic association with certain gods and divine qualities. Dwarfs were believed to be under the protection of gods like Bees and Ptah, who were depicted with facial features resembling those of dwarfs. Of particular significance was Bees, a god associated with protection, childbirth, and the home, further enhancing the importance and reverence afforded to dwarfs.